Welcome into the Skolcial Network. This is the first time in weeks we haven't started with clapping.
I
Well,
just thought the
I
same
guess
thing.
technically we didn't lose. So I mean, Skol, I guess the entire NFC North won, and now it's a little bit of a. We just can't have nice things. We started 5-0, and yet one wrong move completely. I don't want to say derails the season by any means because it doesn't, but it does take some wind out of the sails as far as being one of the top NFC teams.
Can you imagine saying, and I know we've done this 1,000 times, like put yourself in the shoes of before the season, but like the NFC North is the best division in football and it's like not close. You'd think, oh yeah, we're probably like what, like 2-3, 3-2. Everybody else is 3-2 or better. No, we're 5-0, and we're leading the best division in football.
And the Packers are last place at 4-2.
Crazy.
Did you see the point differential per
hmm
division?
I've
I
seen
think the AFC West was second, and it was like plus 23 point differential um, in total, and the NFC North is 211.
yeah. Uh, thanks. Shout out to Detroit for helping that a lot yesterday. But
They still don't have the same. They're still 3 points behind us for total
yeah,
point differential.
it's crazy. We're so good.
Hopefully, we'll see. Those last 6 quarters haven't been the most inspiring thing outside of defense in the Jets game, but I think we can get it together. Hopefully.
Hopefully, that would be
Uh,
cool.
a lot of those plays Detroit was running, those screens, whether they were to the outside or, just kind of dump offs, all I kept thinking was Andrew Van Ginkel could have a field day with their offense.
I'm convinced at this point Andrew Van Ginkel can have a field day of just about anybody's offense. He's so
That's
good.
fair. Well, I mean, just the amount of screens and short passes and dump offs, that seems to be his move. Blake Cashman was working on the side today in I don't know, not like a cast, but like a wrap or a sleeve on his leg. Nothing to freak out about too much.
Mm.
Hawkinson and Aaron Jones were both practicing to some extent. I don't know. How confident are you about Aaron Jones and Hawk being ready Thursday?
Uh, this whole time, I've pretty much thought that Aaron Jones was probably going to be good to go. Um, as much as teams want to say, oh, any given Sunday you're playing an NFL team every week. If you weren't playing the Lions this week, I think you can get away with not playing Jones. But since like this is a really pivotal game, not just for the division, but for the entire conference, I think it's a pretty good chance um, we see Jones, and then Hawkinson. I think we have a good feeling that he will not be playing on
Yeah.
Sunday. I love how you put this on me to try to word it, but um,
I would not. I wouldn't. I would. If you're planning on placing bets, I don't even know if you can officially bet on Hawkinson's stats anywhere currently.
probably not.
Um, but in theory, I would not. I'm not 100% convinced that now's a good time to do that. I think he's healthy. I think he's been healthy for a little bit, but you don't like this team has, for better or worse, always been risk adverse. Hey, I'm a freaking poet now.
Nice.
And I don't think when you're investing as much money into him as you are, and you're looking at the bulk of your schedule, which we'll talk about coming up, you want him for that stretch of those games you should win because you don't want any surprises. So I could see the argument. Yeah, I'm leaning Jones plays, Hawkinson probably next week.
Yeah, and thinking about it too, like Minnesota also plays on Thursday after that. They got to go from Detroit to LA. So, and I know we all used Hawkinson's probably going to be out for like the first 6 weeks. And I guess some people said 6 games, which kind of falls in line with it. I don't think you'd bring him back off a torn ACL when he has to play 2 games in 5 days. Maybe I'm
Speaking
thinking that.
speaking of catastrophic injuries, obviously we got to talk about Aiden Hutchinson first of all. Like you miss Twitter being Twitter. I'd say 90% of us were supportive and saying, hey, just because they did it to us doesn't mean we do it back. Nothing but the best. But of course, some people were taking the high road, some people were taking the low road, mentioning some of the things that some, not all, maybe a little bit of surprising amount, but some Lions fans were saying after Hawk's injury last year to Hart and maybe playing the karma card. I'm not in that spot. I don't believe in that. I think you hate to see a absolute stud, somebody who's pacing at his level. What? I mean, I think he probably had to have been one of the top 2 or 3 candidates for Defensive Player of the Year through 5 weeks.
Hmm. Yeah, it doesn't matter what team he plays on. Like, because I didn't know what was going on because I was where I didn't get to pay much attention to the NFL at all
Yeah.
yesterday. But you texted me, and I was like, because you texted me like a picture, a video of what happened, and I was like, whoa. Like, you don't
Yeah.
care about the team that that guy plays. That's a 24, 25-year-old kid that just got his leg wrapped around another man's leg. Pause. But
It
did you see
when
the article that Campbell's not ruling out that he'll play this season again?
it would I mean, it's Campbell, bro. I
Like,
Dan Oh, and guess what he kept doing yesterday? Trying to force it, trying to have Skipper report as eligible the entire game. And there were Lions fans in my comments being like, "You don't understand what they took from us. They took home field." And I'm like, "It's a year later." I was like, "Don't let it affect your play calling." They're like, "Well, we're up 40 points, might as well." I'm like, that makes it even more of a part of me, but like dickhead move just to like play with your prey like that. But also, if it was closer, that wouldn't make it better either, because we've seen Dan Campbell make really boneheaded decisions on paper that worked out, and we've seen him shoot himself in the foot. It was so annoying, dude. It was just the.
I hate that
Anyways,
Lions. They do that about everything. Shout out to the cool Lions fans out there, I guess. But they find a way to make the smallest things like just they have an insane in terms of sports victim complex, and it's the one thing I dislike about the Lions the most.
makes it very hard to root. Like, obviously they're in the division, but like you can look at teams in the division and be like, that's a good story in theory. It makes it very hard to do that.
They really want people to feel bad for them. I'm like, I don't at all.
Yeah. Um. So obviously
No,
that's
I
heartbreaking.
feel
Well,
bad about Aiden Hutchinson. Then let
no,
me
100%.
yeah,
And
I'm
he's
talking
not
about
one
the
of those
kicker
guys
thing.
who goes around talking like mad shit or anything like that, or like Kirby Joseph, guys like that who I just cannot tolerate. Um, but obviously, I'm sure when we talk pregame, give number one first and foremost is hoping and praying for a smooth recovery for Hutch and that there's no complications whatsoever. We'll talk later in the week when some time's been given about how it could possibly affect the game. I'm sure it will affect the game, but like right now, fresh off that injury, I mean, hell, there's videos going on. You could legitimately hear his leg break on the live broadcast. Like
Solid. That was
it
bad.
is gruesome. So for right now, we'll talk later about what that changes as far as their pass rush. But for right now, it's just wishing him the best. Hopefully, I think they said that he will come back to Detroit this week, which is good news because sometimes you're stuck there for. I think what Lewis Seen was in London for about a week.
Hmm.
So yeah, hopefully he gets home soon and starts recovering. So man, we're here through 5 weeks and the bye, so through week 6, and I'm just looking at this like it's crazy to actually look at the schedule, and yeah, we haven't played the majority of it, but like the rest of it does not look like that many games. So it's kind of just shows this off season took forever and now this season's going by very quickly. So we're going to do our updated pick the schedule. We're sitting here at 5-0. Don't need a score prediction yet, but win or loss against Detroit on Sunday.
They need to lose sometime. Um, and I think this week is like the really easy pick. Uh, I'll again reference my boy math and that the Lions blew out the Cowboys last night. So because they didn't lose to the Cowboys, I feel like our chances of winning are better. But the Lions are starting to. They looked a little shaky to begin the year, and I think they did that last year too, and we kind of overreacted to it. But they're getting going, so I'm going to say they're going to drop on Sunday. And spin zone, this team needs to lose.
Yeah.
The offense hasn't looked great the last 6 quarters, and we've talked very much about that and been perhaps a little too negative for being 5-0. But this team needs to drop one. We need to see how they respond to adversity. Not saying I'd be mad if they win, obviously.
Yeah. for some of the reasons you said, for the fact that they came off a dominating win that probably didn't end up feeling like a win. I think they'll be extra motivated, but I also think like motivation doesn't always end in results.
Hmm.
I also think they absolutely emptied the clip as far as trick plays when they were up. I don't know if you ended up watching the film back. They were doing passes to their center. They were doing all this crazy
I
shit.
saw
Penny
some of
Sewell, I
it. It
think,
was really
and
weird.
I think you Ben Johnson's kind of an evil genius, and I want him gone from our division as much as possible. The one good thing about the Bears winning is I'm not worried so much about them having a shot to get him, which would have been my worst nuclear coaching scenario in division. I think the Vikings being well rested, having Jones back as my gut. I have Minnesota winning this game in a squeak, just squeaking by. Either last second walk off field goal or an overtime defensive stop. I think it's going to be a nail biter. And then we go to Los Angeles 4 days later to face the Rams. For me, that's my first loss. That hangover, that quick turnaround. Um, Prime time. Not saying we have the prime time curse, but I just think it's a very quick turnaround to fly as far as you possibly can. I believe that's the furthest team from the Vikings.
Yeah, I'm picking them to win this game, and I'm kind of using the same logic as you, but I'm going for like the other side of it to where drop the game against the very, very worthy opponent. Not that the Rams are, but like if you're talking about top teams in the NFC, the Lions are up there, and I feel like you can understand a loss to them more than you can the very, very injured Rams. So I think might be getting a bunch of people back, but I can see them dropping Sunday to Detroit and then using that quick turnaround to get right very quickly against the Rams, and then you've got that mini bye going into the next week.
Yeah. I just realized I think I said LA might be the furthest place to play for the Vikings. I think Miami would technically be further. Maybe, I don't know.
It's got to
There
be.
it's a far game. So we both leave week 8 6-1. Again, perspective. If you would have looked me dead in the face and guaranteed me that would happen a month ago, I would say yes, please, as I'm sure we all would. So, oh my God, we both predicted a loss, different games, but in the next 2 weeks, both of us think we're going to lose a game.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's how football works and has worked since the Dolphins ran the table.
Yep. Or since the Patriots lost the Super Bowl in 2007.
Yep. And then we go back home, our last home game until for a month.
Hmm.
We have the Colts at home. First time they're back since the game that shouldn't have been what it was, but ended up being the biggest comeback in NFL history. Do we have any faith in the Flacco slash maybe Richardson by then led Colts against Brian Flores?
No.
None at all. Yeah, I
No,
agree.
that's fair.
7-1.
That's all I've got on that game too. No.
This
Win.
is the we have an entire AFC South stretch here where other than the Texans who we obviously already played, we then go to Tennessee. Something sticks out to me. I remember, I think it was Luke Braun or somebody tweeted something about the Vikings being undefeated a couple of weeks ago, and some other sports account replied, "Get ready to learn random loss to Tennessee, buddy." And I can't get that out of my head because that's so on brand. But just on paper wise, that is also a win in my book, 8-1.
Yeah, same. I really think we're gonna drop a game somewhere in here just because it's the NFL. That's what happens. But I don't. Kevin O'Connell might be that good of a coach, and his whatever 23-8 record with his starting quarterback that he declared before the year, and if they win the turnover battle, this team might be well coached enough that they don't fall for any of these trap losses. I can totally see that too. So
Yeah.
I'd have to say
Sorry, that would be
Texans.
9-1. 9-1, I believe.
9-1. Yeah.
9-1. At the Bears, I'm gonna have a split with Chicago, make that 9-2, because I
Mm.
just think again, sustainability. Like, is this a good team? Yes. Is this a team that's much better than we expected? Yes. Is it a team that's going to only lose 2 or 3 games this season? I don't know if I'm ready to say that yet.
Yeah, I have this as a loss too, and same thing. I want to have them splitting. I don't know if they're a lot better than I thought they would be, because I kind of thought they'd be decent, but I
The
don't know.
Bears or the Vikings?
The Bears.
I thought coaching would get in the way, and so far most of the stupidity has come from them not being able to keep Caleb Williams on some form of regiment. But yesterday that seemed to work out, at least in the latter part of the game.
Yeah, I'm not saying I think they're going to be a playoff team, but I think they'll fight to the end to make the playoffs.
So that's got us at 9-2. Cardinals, any fear I have of them is just for the time being, we thought they were maybe a feisty team. I've kind of lost that 10-2.
Yeah, I've got it as a win too, but I still don't. I still like the Cardinals just in terms of being a wild card. Um, and I guess the thing that would steer me toward Minnesota winning for sure is kind of they don't have Cliff Kingsbury anymore, obviously, but kind of that Kingsbury and difference or not difference disappearance that the Cardinals would have late in the season after they start well. But either way, that was my
Kyler Murray is just so inconsistent, and he cannot consistently find or target MHJ enough to where I feel like there's already like a solid connection we have to watch out for. I think we do need to be aware of it, but especially with pressure in his face, Kyler, I think within 2 years they are looking at a new quarterback if he does not get his stuff together.
very well could be. They need to figure out that contract.
So that puts me at 11-2. No, 10-2. Where are you at right now?
We have the same record. We've
10-2.
predicted the
Okay,
last couple the same.
cool. Atlanta, just for my narratives, and don't worry, there will be losses here soon. I think I'm gonna say 11-2. I think this will be the hardest game we have between now and basically New Year's weekend. But I think that the amount of emotion going into it, and I think if you look at how much time Kirk spent there, this team knows all of his weaknesses. Yeah, he knows Brian Flores' defense, maybe, but like call it what it is. Do you think Kirk Cousins was actually spending time in practice learning the nuances of Brian Flores' defense enough to dissect it in a real game? Or do you think he just kind of learned enough to like do things in practice? I think the team has evaluated him more than he's evaluated the team. So for that reason, I give the edge to Brian Flores.
I'd agree, and I'm going to go ahead and say that Minnesota's going to blow them out.
12-2.
Mhm.
Chicago, I mean,
13.
spoiler alert, I have that one being a win and basically a decent chance of us losing out the rest of the way going 12-5.
I can see that too. I think this would this put us at 12-2 or 13-2?
13 and
13.
2. Sorry. 13 and 2. 13 and going. No, we did the math wrong. Our
Oh
math
no.
this would put us at 12-2. My bad.
Oh, we got
So
to talk to
12
the
and
math
2.
guy.
What?
We got to talk to the math guy.
This is 12-2. And then 3 remaining games, 17 games. I would have us lose out, making us 12-5.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
us losing out on those 3 games will either lead to the biggest dud of a first round performance, or if we get a bye, second round performance possible, or this team will be like unbelievably disciplined and go on a serious run to the NFC Championship at minimum. No in between.
This team in NFC Championship shouldn't be an eyebrow raiser anymore.
Yeah. Especially on, remember, we predicted, I think it's 9 years, 8 years. This would be 7 years. So
Yeah, very true.
the countdown is currently on and
Oh,
pacing. Yeah, Seattle just got a new defensive lineman from Jacksonville. I'm trying to remember who it was. I
like
think,
Roy Robertson or something.
yeah, I don't know if he's gonna necessarily like save their defense in its current injured state, but I think he'll definitely help. But yeah, I mean, I look at that stretch. I could see us beating all of those teams. I could see us losing to all of those teams. Just so that I'm not sitting here saying we end the season 15-2. I'm saying we lose out and go into the playoffs either with so much of that fixed or just on an absolute downhill spiral.
So you have us losing the rest of the games?
After Chicago, I'm just going with that and saying 12-5.
I'm gonna say we beat Seattle. I think Seattle sucks.
I I mean, I'm tempted to, but I think 12-5 is where I see us ultimately finishing. However, we get there, we get there. But
I think I've
I
got us at 14-3 then, because I'd have us beating Seattle and Detroit.
you'd have us splitting with Detroit.
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I guess I mean again, we talked in what August, July, and we said hell, even back to when the schedule released in May, we said the absolute oh my god, extend Quasi and KOC right this moment scenario is somehow 12 wins. And here we are looking at 12 to 13 wins pretty realistically.
Yeah, 12 win. I don't want to keep saying there's a new floor every week, but they just keep winning. So I'm not going to say 12 wins is the floor. I think the floor, the actual real floor right now, I think is 9 wins,
9
because
wins, 10
yeah,
wins. 9 wins is a collapse floor. That's the basement. 10 wins is the all right, you're on solid ground, but what the hell happened floor.
yep, pretty much. Injuries, anything can happen.
Yeah. Darnold doesn't get it together, which again, I don't think that's 100% on him. I think in London a large part of it was, but you
Yeah,
know, hopefully we'll see that get fixed. Yeah, so we're looking at a Vikings team that's going to end probably in that case winning the division and very possibly with how the NFC's gone this year getting the number 1 seed.
yeah. And the NFC just, I can't choose a team right now that's better than Minnesota. If
If you
Detroit
look at
if
oh
Detroit
go ahead,
wins this
sorry.
week, no, if Detroit wins this week, I was just gonna say it. I think not that as wild as it sounds. I think not just because the team loses to another team, they're a worse team than them. But I feel like Minnesota and Detroit are at this point pretty evenly matched. You'd kind of have to give the edge to Detroit if they were to win this game.
Trying to find it here. I have the strength of schedules for the NFC North, and I found it pretty interesting. I believe the Lions have like the 29th hardest schedule, and that the Bears and Packers are both somewhere in the 20s, while the Vikings are 5. Trying to find the exact list. I had it here in a chat, but I think that just speaks entirely to like how impressive it is what the Vikings are actually doing. Um, and maybe, just maybe, here it is, Minnesota, fifth hardest strength of schedule, Detroit 29, Chicago 31, Green Bay 22.
Must be.
So I think yes, it's felt a little rocky the last quarter or game, what, 6 quarters, game and
Mhm.
a half. Like, but when you look at that and you look at what they've still managed to do despite that, points scored and point differential, them and Detroit are close. But when you simply look at opponents, Minnesota is miles ahead. Now, none of that means a single thing until Sunday.
Nope.
Like, you could sit here and say, hey, well, metrics wise, the Vikings are this, and ESPN put out their pro football index rankings, and the Lions were number 1, the Vikings were 7, below 2 teams they've already beaten. And like, you can argue analytics and metrics, but at the end of the day, all that matters is Sunday.
Yeah, and the metrics actually say like, what is it? Thor was talking about like Minnesota's first in offensive and defensive DVOA, EPA,
EPA or
whatever.
EPA,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're first in both two categories that kind of are the best about telling the truth about what a team is. Of course, 2022 we were like 22nd in that statistic, and we were frauds. Obviously, this year we're first. So all of the actual metrics that trend toward being the most accurate and displaying how good a team really is, Minnesota leads the league. They also lead the league in point differential, which we heard a lot last 2 years ago. So if you don't think this team is for real, then I don't know.
I just opened up Twitter to see if there was anything we maybe wanted to add in. The first thing I see is this Packers page saying, true or false, Jordan Love's the most talented quarterback in the NFC. I These people need to have their accounts taken away, I'm telling you.
Uh,
I know you're pro Jordan Love, not like his success, but you've been giving him his flowers a little while longer. I do not think he is the best quarterback in the conference yet, personally.
No, he's not the most talented for sure. I think there's a difference between best and talented. Like I have something to get off my chest. Do you remember that? I think his name was Bruce Iron Guy that said Christian Watson is more athletically gifted than Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, and then he also compared Dobbs, I think, a couple of weeks ago to Jefferson.
That's crazy. But like I don't think that was like best.
This again. Nobody attacks the most loved Vikings on this team like you do.
Who do I attack the most love Viking?
Hawkinson shouldn't get paid that much. Jordan Addison is just replaceable by any guy who plays wide receiver. Look what Naylor did without him. Like, he is.
Yeah, we were
Wow.
so bad without Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson.
Shut up.
I love him when this is being proven right. It's cool.
I don't know if you've been
It,
proven right.
I
You've
haven't.
mainly just shown like it's not necessary, it's like not a necessarily equivalent situation. They
It's
could be even better with them.
oh, absolutely, but there's still a
And
difference.
that Green Bay game without Jordan Addison, we likely do not win.
Fact or fiction? The Minnesota Vikings are 5-0 without TJ Hawkinson.
Technically fact.
Fact or fiction? The Vikings were 2-0 without Jordan Addison. 1-0.
That's like saying we went what was the record? Like 4-0 without Justin Jefferson last year, or 5-0
Yeah.
without Justin Jefferson last year. Like, no,
Fact or
you're not.
fiction?
Fact or fiction, every team in the NFL has scored 20 points except Cleveland.
That's bad. Is that
Oh
true?
yeah. Yeah, you're missing the good stuff. The good stuff
That's
on
bad.
Twitter.
Let me be clear that I think Justin Jefferson is obviously it's disrespectful to compare him to Christian Watson, but the words athletically gifted were very important there. Christian Watson's a freak. He's kind of is not a great NFL wide receiver.
I would say the same with Jamison Williams. I think you get the ball in his hands, crazy things can happen, but he's not a guy I'm throwing the ball 50 yards downfield to like I would Jefferson.
No.
No, I'll throw it 5 yards or I'll hand it off to him and let him do his little zippy stuff. But look at it, he's just a larger Percy Harvin, and I know we love Percy Harvin, so I'm sure they love him
Yes.
as well. So
Yes.
not
I
gonna
just
fault
don't.
him for it.
I just don't think people should slander people that say Jamison Williams is a good football player because he very obviously is.
He is, but he is not a true. He's
No.
not. If I'm there's a million guys I'm picking above him as a true wide receiver. If I'm picking a guy to throw anywhere on the field and just put the ball in his hands, he's probably in the top 3 or 4 in the NFL currently.
Yeah.
What was the trend in the draft a few years ago, like 10 years ago, where people would put OW as their position, offensive weapon?
Yeah. That was kind of sick. We should do that again.
I mean, that's what I love about NCAA football. You can just pick an athlete and it'll kind of tell
Yeah.
you their preferred position, and then you can
Mm.
just put them wherever the hell you want.
Oh, this guy says physical, so he's definitely a tight end or whatever.
Or a fullback, yeah. Well, with that, lots to celebrate here in Skull Nation. If you are looking for tickets to the game on Sunday, good luck. They are pricey, but if you want to get the best possible deal you can on those tickets, use SeatGeek, use code JasonH or code Brev. It just be warned, this is the most in demand. Talking to people I know who buy and sell Vikings tickets, season ticket holders, this is the most in demand regular season game in the history so far of US Bank Stadium. So if you're looking to get last second tickets, use SeatGeek, save yourself $20 so you could still, be gracious with yourself enough about the spending to buy yourself a beer. Make sure you are cleaned. Brev, how can our friends going to the game make sure they smell good as we see the Vikings upsetting Detroit?
I have no idea where I put deodorant, but you can use the link in the description. I have no physical props. I'm sorry. To go to drsquatch.com and get $10 off your first purchase of $20 or more using that link. If you if you enjoy the show, if you want to smell good, if you don't, that's up to you. But if you want to smell good, you want to help support us, you can use that link. We'll get a little kickback from it, and you might get a kickback from your wife or husband or whatever you choose. We don't care. Also, the games
Feel
in
like a
Minnesota
man,
Sunday.
smell like Skolcial.
Yeah, good one.
How
That's exactly what
detached
I
from
said.
the internet are you? Yes,
I
this is a
thought we
home game.
were. I thought it was in Detroit. I really don't know why.
No. This is one of 2 home games we have until December 3rd.
Hmm. I'm so detached.
Yeah,
Hockey
bro.
season started too, so I had to give some attention to that.
Not December 3rd, December 1st. Sorry, it's week 13. That's where I got the 3. So this is one
We're
of
still
2 home games we have for a month and a half.
better enjoy it.
Yeah, then you go 3 straight and then end with Green Bay on December 29th at home, and then you go to Detroit to end it. We have the same last 2 games. Insane.
Every year. Remember when we used to play the Bears the last week every year? It was so annoying.
Yeah. Don't remind me of 2018. Whatever you do. That's the
Uh,
last time I really remember that. And then 2022, we played the Bears in Chicago the last week, and it was just they wanted to lose, and we didn't care.
yeah, pretty. Isn't that when Justin Jefferson wore like his hat?
Froed his.
Yeah,
Yeah, he froed it out. He went Moss and didn't even play.
yeah. It was fine. He looked cool.
I think Nick Mullins played that game, and he did not do Nick Mullins. Like, that was not the Nick Mullins we eventually got in 2023.
Yeah, I think he smoked marijuana or something. He was really subdued.
On that note, we'll see you guys before the game, probably Friday, Saturday. Give you our official pregame predictions, updates on any injuries or just who's active. Because right at this point, we have a few guys we don't even know if they're going to play or not, but are hoping for the best. So we will see you guys next week. Enjoy the ride. Remember, whatever happens Sunday, it doesn't totally derail the season, but damn, it would be fun to win.